Hi, my name is Janet Sussman, and I'm a faculty member at SUNY Potsdam's Department of Theater and Dance. And I'm going to talk about moving towards a post-gendered world. When I started thinking about identity and the moments of identity, I started thinking that our identities are often shaped before we're born. Parents are asked, "What are you having?" And at that moment, we start to shape our gender identity. Who are we in this world, and how are we going to be perceived? So we're going to ask the question, what are you having? And the answer is always a girl or a boy. I'm going to have a pink, soft, graceful, delicate, or I'm going to have a blue, stalwart, strong, right? So we begin to identify traits along with gender. And now we have these gender reveal parties, which take this even a little bit farther, where we start to have cakes that tell us whether it's going to be a pink or a blue, how is it going to fit into the world, what is it going to be. And we have a cake like this one that says, are you going to have a touchdown or a tutu, right? What is this child going to be and do, and all kinds of issues that this child is going to face in their lives. So we're not just asking what the gender is, we're asking what this child's identity is going to be. We don't have the rainbow cake where we slice in and say, I'm having a transgender pansexual child, right? That isn't part of this lexicon of gender reveal parties. Although many people will have transgender pansexual children, they don't have cakes for that. As a side note, this pink and blue has flipped in time. Until the 1940s, boys wore pink and girls wore blue. Pink was the dilute version of the strong, powerful male red, and blue was the color of the Virgin Mary, right? Truthful and innocent. So we dressed the children this way. Really until the 1940s, when there was an advertising campaign that changed things. All children were dressed in skirts for much of history. So when we look at paintings from the past, we see children dressed in gowns. The people in pink are going to be boys. The ones in blue or white are going to be the girls. So boys were dressed in skirts until they went through a breeching ceremony where they were put into bifurcated nether garments for the rest of their lives. Girls remain in skirts. So when we look at these paintings, it's sometimes confusing to see the boy in pink gown with the sword at his side. But that will shift in the 1940s. For most of history, what we had was a cisgendered, binary world. Everyone was male or female, right? We had mom and dad, children who were male or female, with the occasional maiden aunt or confirmed bachelor uncle who were resigned to living with their best friends, poor things, right? So that was our world. And everyone fit cleanly into a different identity, opposing identities. Until the 1970s, when we heard tell that there were gay people on the coast asking for rights. They were way out on the West Coast and the East Coast, and they stayed out there. So it was okay until the 1890s, when in our living rooms we had Ellen and we had Will and Grace, and we had gay people in our living rooms. But we never saw them in a real relationship, so they were only theoretically gay, so it was okay. But that opened the door, and as it opened the door, we had more and more questions. So we start to ask questions about where people fit. How do we identify them? How do we put them into a box that makes us comfortable? And we get an alphabet soup of LGBTQIAPD, right? And it keeps going because we keep on having to add new boxes for people to go in, new identities so that we feel comfortable with them. And we do this and we keep on doing this, and we know that gender is much slippery than that, and people shift and are not easily defined, but we keep trying to define them, and we keep on trying to come up with new language to define them. And language becomes important. I remember when I learned French that I was so surprised that there were gendered nouns, and you had to learn all these gendered nouns. La plume, le crayon, la table, right? But it wasn't just that they were gendered, abstractly. They were gendered by how we felt about those nouns. So, la plume is soft and delicate and makes thin, graceful, elegant lines. La crayon is hard and sharp and bold, and it makes straight lines, right? So we define them differently. La table wears a skirt. We give them different properties and identities. So we're identifying the nouns. Every weather disaster is feminine in French, right? So we define them. We don't have this in English, and I was always happy about that, but we do have gendered pronouns. And more recently, these gendered pronouns have become very important. People tell you their names and announce their gender preference, right? I am so-and-so, and I am a she, her, I'm a he, him, I'm a they, them. And you fit into one of those categories. And I start thinking, I really didn't ask, and I'm not sure I really need to know, and I'm certainly not comfortable telling you. I don't think it's any of your business what my gender is and what I am, or how I identify myself. So I keep thinking, if we've gotten beyond the grammatical singular they, thems, why can't we all be they, thems? Wouldn't it make it easier in conversation? We're just all they, thems. And it doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter to anybody else. We're they, thems. And if we could get there, that would be great. But we also have, and I can't think of how many times I've had this, forms. Forms that all ask, are you an F or an M? Are you female or male? And I think, I don't know. All the way through the moments of your life, we have these questions. From birth certificate to death certificate. Are you an F or an M? When you go to school, when you get a driver's license, when you get your first job, when you open up a bank account. I just looked at a fishing license and it asked, and I thought, I'm not sure the fish really care whether I'm male or female. But we have this question all the way through our lives, and I ask why. Why does everyone need to know what my gender is? Why is it important to anybody? And I think we should stop answering this question. Unless it's of importance to you, it shouldn't be important to anybody else. And I ask, can we make our gender less a part of our identity? It would certainly be harder to take away your rights because of your gender if no one knows what it is. Can we move towards a post-gendered world? And can we stop being our gender and start being ourselves? Thank you.